Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Jacked up. I'm just pumped to be here with the mad scientist, Mr. Metcalf. I'm really excited for this one. Surprise. I'm excited for every episode. How are you doing, Metcalf? Are we doing better this week?
Timberwolves are about to sweep the Nuggets. Surely that won't come back and bite me in the ass. I'm doing fantastic. I would highly recommend rooting for a team that is just full of psychopath defenders. A lot of fun.
A lot of fun to watch, too. They look
God,
fantastic. It's terrifying how good they look.
Did you see that clip of Nickeil Alexander-Walker picking up Jamal Murray and smiling full court as he cut him off like 5 different times? Just incredible stuff.
I want them to go far because I want it to bring back hey, we should probably prioritize nasty defenders instead of just being obsessed with 3-point shooters and offensive guys. Like, hey, maybe Ryan Dunn's really watching the playoffs right now. Like, come on over, folks. I got what you want. So, no, but hey, I think that's the cool part about basketball is, we see trends happen, and then all of a sudden it takes one team to rock the boat a little bit. And Minnesota's got a bad man in Anthony Edwards right now. I think Towns has been awesome, kind of
incredible.
It's been so cool to see him kind of being like, you got it. It's all you, young gun, and Towns has been fantastic. I feel like his playmaking's been much better, and just the decision making. It's been a really cool team. And then all of a sudden you have all these defensive demons around. It's like, woof, this is exciting. Maybe this is the new way to build.
It's a very fun team. But in your Celtics are just kind of boring, and
we're recording this and they're going to go live in 13 minutes. So, I'll be nervous to check out the score because this is a classic Celtics. They lay a game and they give the team hope, and they play with their food is what I think.
They're going to win this by 28, and then they'll lose game 3 and then win game 4 by games 4 and 5 by 15 plus. You're fine.
It's fine. I saw the Knicks fans chanting, "We want Boston." So, I hope we take care of business because I'd love that dance.
That'd be a fun matchup.
Yeah.
They're fun. I think that's the one to go to.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a really fun show today. We're going through version 7 of the No Ceilings composite big board today. We'll go through five spots at a time through the first 30, and then quote unquote second round 31 through 60. We'll fly through about 10 or so at a time. We'll share our likes, our dislikes, biggest differences, risers, all of that good stuff. We'll try and share our screen to help you guys kind of follow along if you're watching on YouTube. If not, go over NoCeilingsNBA.com. The whole big board is up there as well. No Ceilings Plus subscribers also get access to our individual boards, so you can see how brilliant or dumb each of us are on an individual basis, and how much we're aided by the group effort. Also, no rookie roulette this week. Forgot to do it again, but for sure back next week. 100% promise. That's about it. Oh, also help those who help us. Underdog Fantasy. They've been incredible to work with this year. Also starting today, they have an awesome new promo set up where if you sign up with promo code No Ceilings, you get to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250. It used to be just dollar for dollar. For a limited time, it's up to $250. Promo code No Ceilings. Promo code and link are in the description. Make sure to use those. Go check it out. Go support Underdog Fantasy. We've been having a ton of fun over there. All right, Rucker, let's get into it. At number 1, Alexander Sarr. Number 2, Nikola Topic. Number 3, Stefan Castle. Number 4, Donovan Clingan. Number 5, Reed Shepherd. Not a ton of movement in the top 5, except Clingan jumping up 2 spots. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty boring and chalk for the top 5. It's when you sent me over the numbers, I was kind of like, all right, makes a lot of sense. Kind of everyone's staying a little put. I mean, everyone in the top 3 stayed identical. And then I thought we might have gotten a little bit of a Clingan jump, and it happened. So I had no problem with the top 5. I think Reed's still fascinating to me when it comes to the upcoming months, because everyone's going to fascinate about the bad taste in the mouth that they had to end the year. Shout out Franz Wagner when he had his last game against Michigan. So everyone's going to be obsessed with that game. But then you keep going back and looking at the numbers. You talk to people that still really are high on Reed Shepherd, and there's a lot of fans. So I continue to say we're recording this. We got 3 days right now until the lottery. Most people are going to hear this tomorrow as well. Guess what? 2 days until the lottery. And then Combine, G League camp, everything's going to be awesome. So we're going to be cooking, and buzz is going to start flushing in. It's going to be fantastic to kind of get a buzz, a feel for how everyone feels about stuff. But Reed at 5 was kind of like but I still get it. What about you?
Yeah, I know. I thought it was actually kind of good to see Klingon jump into the top 5. But this is the same 5 names that I have in my top 5, not in the same order, but as you can see from previous rankings, not a whole lot of movement, which I think is encouraging, and I think kind of shows to the consistency that we've had with a lot of these guys and how consistent some of these guys have been for most of the year. Really good to see Topich still up there. I've seen plenty of people being underwhelmed by the numbers since his return. Ignore the numbers. Just look at the play and look at the feel, look at the decision making, the versatility, and the role. It's very late in their season, and they're a very good team, so they're not going to just let him come back from a knee injury and be like, "Hey, go do whatever you want," like you did at Mega. It's a different team, different context, different situation, and I'm really, really encouraged that we're seeing him play more of an off-ball and complementary role too, which we never saw him do at Mega.
I think it's really important. The other day while I'm working the bill payer till No Ceilings is full time. I mean, it is full time, but you understand what I'm saying, Metcalf. Not a lot of time these days. While I was box score watching Mega versus Red Star, it was like middle of the second quarter, and he hadn't even checked in yet. And I was like, okay, that tells you everything about Red Star's team. Like, they got some depth. Like, so I'm not fascinated by the numbers. I'm more fascinated, like you're saying, about what he's showing on the court, the play. I love that he's doing off-ball stuff now. Like, that's a big development. So the question I have for you is that top 5. I don't know if that order might change. I don't know does Klingon have another jump in him? I don't know.
So I think the one that I think Castle has the best.
I think Castle has the best shot if
he's number 1 for me, has been for a while.
I got him at 2.
I don't think 1 is going to change. It's been SAR base, I think, all year. I'd be really surprised if that changed for the group. But I think it wouldn't shock me if intel-wise, workout-wise, combine, measurables, interviews, all of that, I would expect Castle to kill all of those. And if we start hearing that he's shooting in workouts and shoots well at the combine, and all that kind of stuff, it wouldn't shock me if he jumps up to 2 and is at least in the conversation for 1.
Consensus wise, I think Castle has another push for sure. I'm right there with you. I think he's got another push to getting towards the top 5 of this conversation of like, okay, it's a legit top 5 pick. Because, there's still some people thinking he might go towards the bottom half of the top 10. And I understand that, but I think I'm right there with you. This is a big upcoming month for him because he can make a lot of noise and make another push. Klingon's the wild card to me because I could see him getting the green light and also impressing in workouts with his size. And he's going to be very high on the Derek Lively showcasing an outside shot last year, and everyone freaks out. So everyone looks pretty good when they're going up against the chair. So I think that's another name that I could see making buzz in the media around the circles, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Anything else on these top 5, or you want to move on?
I'm too excited.
It's pretty top 5. Okay. Going on to 6, we have Zachary Reese-Shea, 7, Cody Williams, 8, Rob Dillingham, 9, Dalton Connect, and 10, Jared McCain. Where do you want to go?
You started off. I don't want you always to make me go. I want to share the wealth.
Well, and just a friendly reminder to the listeners that this is a composite big board. So this is 8 or 9 different boards from everyone across the No Ceilings team, averaged out. So this is not just Ruckers and I's. We obviously our numbers and rankings differ significantly in some cases to some the teams, but group effort here. I'm kind of surprised Cody's still this high.
My first reaction when you sent me the numbers, I was like, whoa. And I completely trust you, but it was also one of those things where I was like, really? He's still there? That was the first one in the top 10 that really caught like, whoa, okay. And I do believe it is because this is the time of the year where we're all going back. We're all watching film. We're all reevaluating our questions, our doubts. And I think everyone's going back to see Cody before the injury.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we've been talking in the group chat and stuff, because this is the time of the year more than ever that we're discussing prospects. We're saying, what do you think? What do you like? And I feel like the common thing we got was, man, Cody would look good before that injury. Like Cody was looking really good. And I think that's where you get to the point where you're saying, okay, like the upside is obvious. It's just who's going to be patient with everything coming together. But that was the first name. I'm right there with you. Like 7. I thought he was going to drop probably to like 11 or something, but 7, I was like, okay.
I was anticipating 10 or lower.
Yeah, me too. So that was the big one that caught my attention. At first glance, or do you have anything else on Cody, or do you want to go?
No. Keep going. Go with the flow.
First glance, I got Rob a little higher. So I was shocked he kind of stayed put at 8 because I do think I understand with the Kentucky guards. Like I feel like it's which one do you like more? So I understand why he stood there, but I also was like, because I thought he might have gotten a little bit up there. What about you?
And he's kind of been like right in this range for me for most of the year, especially second half, not first half when I was kind of out on him, and then he just turned into one of the best players in the country. Yeah. I just think it's going to be so fit dependent with him. I love the offensive stuff. It's just how are you going to figure out how he survives on defense? I think there are pathways for that. He gambled a lot at Kentucky, and some of those instincts can really produce high deflection and high steal numbers like they did at Kentucky. And in the right context, like say with the Spurs, where you have this freak of nature behind you protecting the rim, you're able to kind of get away with more of that stuff. But there are a lot of other situations where you're going to be leaving your teammates out to dry. So I think he's really going to be one of these guys where he's probably still in that mid lottery range for me, basically up until the draft in that 7 to 10-ish range. And he could really easily be one of these guys where if he goes to a San Antonio or like a Houston, like the night after draft night, it's like, oh boy, I like that fit a lot. And, might move him, if we did like a post-draft big board of based on fit, he might end up climbing a little bit for me.
It's kind of the same vibes we had with the men last year where we were all like, we're really excited about a men's upside, but where's the right fit? Where's the right place for he could go? And ends up going to the Houston Rockets, which I think we were all like, good spot. Like Udoka's going to bring out another level to his game with the defense and stuff. We saw those flashes throughout the year. So I'm right there with you. I think Rob's one of those players that I love the offensive tools. I love the upside. He's lightning in a bottle. It's just fit for me. And I'm like, I have him at 5. I'm buying that he's just going to be a weapon offensively with his shot making, ability to get hot, take over a game, playmaking development this year. But it is just fit for me because I do believe like you're going to have to find, I mean, he's listed at 6'3", 176. We're going to be very curious to see the combine stuff, especially with a weight, because like I want to see how his frame's developing that way. Like, because if you're going to be top 10 pick point guard, you're going to be wanting to play, and you got to be able to hold your own defensively as well. So, yeah, just interesting to me. Any other thoughts? Connect, I get still. We have fans. McCain. We called it.
It's good to see Ricochet not fall too dramatically. I know we just did a big episode about him the other week. I wrote about him the other week too. Last couple games have been better. It's almost like playing almost 60 games as an 18-year-old in a professional league is hard. So I think we know kind of what he is as a player. He's not going to be this dynamic on-ball creator, but in terms of 3-and-D wings, I think he's pretty clearly the best one in this class. And then just Jared McCain, just steadily rising by the week. You love to see it.
Love to see it. I thought the Ricochet no overreaction panic mode was good. Like Metcalf said, he's looked much better. And yes, slumps happen, cold stretches happen. Keep seeing it moving forward. But yeah, I thought McCain getting up there was fascinating. I think a lot of people are just buying into he's almost becoming safe. You know, he's almost becoming a high floor guy that might not be the sexiest pick in the world, but he might play a damn long time at a high level. So be interesting to see if he can creep up anymore. Because when you get this part of the year with our consensus boards, I feel like it really gets tough to like move. So that'll be like even going up a couple spots is like notable right now. So it'll be interesting for him too.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to 11 through 15. At 11, we have Ron Holland, 12, Modest Buzelis, 13, Jacoby Walter, 14, Devin Carter, and 15, Kyle Filipowski.
We call this death row because everyone right now listening or watching with us is like, what in the world is going on? And when you sent me the numbers and I was making the graphics, I was like, ooh, this is going to be spicy. This is going to be fun. You tell me, where do you want to start?
This one's yours.
I have Ron at 6.
Okay.
So everyone that wants to come at me as the Ron Holland hater, find a new lane. It's not me. I'm still buying. I'm still believing. I would be swinging for upside. I thought Buzelis going to 12 was very interesting. It's just, I feel like those are the guys, and it's not just because they played with the G League. I feel like those are the guys everyone's struggling to like dive into the deep end on. Like everyone likes them. When you talk to people, everybody likes them, but no one seems like they're just like, oh, I'm all in. I love them. I don't know. We could probably do a 2-hour episode about these two. So I don't know what to say.
I really tried. I really, really, really tried to buy in on both, and I just can't get there.
But I'm adamant that Ron in the right place is
what is that place? What is that place?
Memphis, Utah. But everyone's gonna be like, and I'm like, yeah, I just listed the 7th and 8th pick projected right now. So I just, I don't see him in Portland at 4. Charlotte at 3 seems way too rich for me right now, but I would understand if you're swinging, if you're thinking he's a connecting piece. I don't see San Antonio draft him.
How is he? What has he shown that makes you think that he can be a connecting piece?
I'm just trying to buy in, and this is why I can't. You can throw all the heat you want at me. I'll go to war for anything. I'm trying to buy in on the idea Ron was given the ball in the G League to do anything and everything possible. I'm buying in on him not being that, being alongside, being like a second or third option with upside. He's going to be one of the youngest players in this draft. I think if he could get to a spot where it's like, you're not the guy. You're going to be, you need to learn how to play alongside these guys. And he doesn't have the attention of being the number one guy. Like, there's risk, there's high rewards if if he can unlock the defense consistently. Because yes, everyone's going to look at the steals and be like, he's a great defender. It's like, no, there's still some stuff to work with, but there is very fun upside. So I'm just buying that there could be a level to unlock, but it's going to have to be with the right team, the right fit, have a good plan in place. Like I just still believe, especially this year's draft, at some point it's worth a swing if
Sure.
you if everything checks out. If you're all on the same page in terms of organization, interviewed him, everything looks great. I get the swing. That's why I've had him higher, because I just understand this type of player, if you can unlock it, is a dangerous asset to have. But
Agreed.
plenty of questions. Plenty of questions.
But so my pushback, I agree with all of that. I
Push
love the
back.
upside of
People
what
say
he
we don't do
could
this
be.
enough, so push back. I love it. Push
No.
back.
So that list that you were running through of if he goes to the right spot, if he buys in, if he has the right teammates, if he has that list got longer and longer and longer
Yes.
and longer. So every time that I see people talk about, oh well, look at Jaylen Brown, look at where he came from. It's like, yeah, Jaylen Brown is the outlier. We can't be using outliers as developmental stories and developmental examples of what a guy could be. Jaylen Brown was not supposed to happen like that. He was horrid at Cal, and it wasn't like he hit the ground running in the NBA either.
No, he averaged like 4 points a game his rookie year. Or it's something like, it took an organization to be very patient. It also took Jaylen Brown having the work ethic to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not ready. I got to work my ass off to keep getting better. So that's where Intel comes in. Like, how hard of a worker is this kid? How willing is, if he doesn't get everything handed to him right off the bat, is he willing to keep grinding, work on his game, find a role?
Right. So I want that for Ron so bad.
Yes.
I want him to be good. I hope this doesn't come across as me rooting against him, because never do that. I want him to be good. I want him to be that next outlier. But what's the example of the guy like who has this many questions about him, who has ended up turning it around? I don't think we did that at all. But like, excluding Jaylen Brown, who is the success story that you're comping for Ron Holland?
I mean, you know, I don't like comps. Like, there's just, I just could see this being a versatile weapon on both sides of the ball. But there's a lot of consistency that needs to be unlocked. And I'm just gambling still on one of the youngest guys in this class. Like, could it work? Could it develop into consistency? But that is where interviews and intel will take over everything. And like, there's a lot of people like, how is Ron Holland number one? Well, clearly there's buzz, because there's a lot of people that have him around this spot.
Yes.
But I still think if Ron has the most to gain right now from this pre-draft process, if he could go knock it out of the park, we will start cooking with buzz. Like, I believe that, because teams want answers about the G League guys. So he's going to look great in a gym by himself. He's going to look fantastic, because he's explosive as hell, and he's going to dunk everything in the world. And if people are buying the handles and stuff, I absolutely get it. But just going to be interested.
Agreed. I don't think there's a bigger home run swing like when we talk about top 10 guys. And you know, I have him like right at 11 or 12. So by no means am I out on Ron Holland as a lottery guy by any means. And he's in this group of 6 guys where starting mid lotto. Sure, take the swing. I get it. If you believe that much in your developmental system, if you know he answers all the questions during workouts and stuff, the upside is there. It is really, really there. And it is an awesome player that he could be. I'm just a little concerned about the feasibility of that. So who else in this group do you want to go to?
I mean, do we go to war again about Bazelis? No, because I'm colder on Bazelis. Jacoby staying at 13 was interesting to me.
A little surprising. I
thought he would have gone down a little bit. I'm waiting for this guy. He went up 3 spots. I think that's a name that could go up again.
Devin Carter.
Yes, sir. Devin Carter. I've loved Devin Carter. Where do I have him? Gosh, I do have him at 13. Jeez. I need to move him up too, though. But like, I watched his game. It was my favorite film to catch up on. Nasty. rebounds, good numbers. I think he's just going to be tough. I'm going to be interested to see what he measures at. I'm not saying just height wise, like wingspan, like,
Yeah.
I think he could be a really scrappy, valued piece in this draft. What about you?
I like Devin. I'm not sure how much upside or like how much more there
Right.
is. So I have him at 17 again. If he went 13, cool, love it. But I feel very comfortable knowing pretty much exactly what we're gonna get from him, which is an incredible point of attack defender, someone who can pressure the rim, knock down shots. I don't really think he's a shooter, but if you're bringing him in as kind of more of that defensive first off ball guard kind of, and you have like an established wing creator or something along those lines, I think he can knock down spot up stuff or, a little bit of movement stuff. He's not going to have that same type of shot selection that he had at Providence
No,
this year. And
be on
the
the bench.
usage is going to be very different. But I'm very comfortable knowing what we're going to get from him. And at worst, I think it's a really good rotation guy for 6 to 10 years minimum.
I mean, he almost averaged 29, 4, and 2.
Yeah, incredible numbers.
Was just on 47, 37, 74. Like, those are great, fantastic numbers. There's also a chance that maybe that shot selection goes down from being just hero ball mania, and maybe it's a little bit more efficient and NBA spacing. Like, I think he could be a redraft guy that goes higher if he went later. Because
he's going to have a really good rookie year.
Yes.
And, he'll go 15th. He'll have a solid rookie year. And then people will be like, why didn't he go top 4? And I'm like, oh, well, let's settle down. But
we always talk about this, like these tough nosed guards that can play defense and can potentially offer floor spacing. Like, if you're scrappy as heck, you could find a way to play in this league for a very long time. So I think he's going to be I'm right there with you. He's going to be one of those guys like, why didn't he go earlier? And it's like, well, okay, it's his rookie year. Let's wait a little bit. But those also are guys that one team falls in love with them and takes them 9th, so going to be another guy that I'm fascinated to watch.
So just looking at the standings or the kind of draft order pre-lottery. Speaking of lottery, we will have a live stream reacting to the lottery on Sunday, followed up by an immediate mock draft. So make sure to tune in for that. But just looking at the order here, when would be too early, or when would you legitimately start thinking about Carter? So I'm just going to skip through the top 5. Toronto at 6, yes or no?
No,
Memphis at 7.
Masai would do it though. No.
Utah at 8.
I think we're in the world.
That was the first one.
It could be
maybe
it could be crazy to some. I think that's in the conversation. Like, him and Keontae would be very fun together.
It would be
very fun.
And that's the type of but I think Carter has the toughness, the strength, the length to kind of make up for it.
And Keontae could play with him, and Carter has the floor spacing ability. It'd be kind of a nice little combo.
Yeah. And then, Houston at 9, Atlanta at 10. Don't like those. Chicago at 11. It's kind of like, oh, okay, maybe, you get that 3-man guard rotation of him, Kobe, Caruso. It's like, okay, this is kind of fun. We're cooking with something a little bit here. And then basically any spot after that, it's like, why not?
Like, Sacramento could be interesting.
Sacramento could be interesting.
It could be interesting. Okay, see if they take him and put him and Casey Wallace on the floor at the same time. I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. So, but I dare Presti to take another guard. There's a lot of interesting fits, but it's funny you brought that up. The first one I saw when you said, oh, the lottery, blah, blah, blah. I pulled it up and I just looked at Utah and I was like, oh, I think that's where we're starting the conversation. So Utah would be fun. Utah is fascinating because they're going to go in so many different directions, and it's going to be really interesting to see like what kind of plan they have. So that was a good one.
Okay. Anyone else in this group, or you want to move on?
I'm good.
At 16, we have Isaiah Collier. 17, Tristan Da Silva. 18, Tyler Smith. 19, Zach Edey. And 20, Ryan Dunn.
Ryan Dunn moving back up, folks. Unbelievable. People are buying it. Defense wins. I mean, I can talk about Tristan da Silva if you want. I mean, how many times? That was cool to see him move up. I feel like people are buying into.
Yeah.
Gosh, he's just good.
Yeah,
He's just good. I don't know how to explain it. He's just good.
It's really that simple. He's just really good.
He's good. He's 6'9". He's got good size. He plays tough. He can space the floor. He's intelligent.
Where do you have him?
15.
Okay.
I could see him going in the lottery.
Yeah.
Late lottery. Let me put that the right way.
Yeah, in
I think
that
OKC
11 to 14 range.
I would stare at OKC. He's perfect for them.
I think, honestly, any of Atlanta, Chicago, OKC, Sacramento, Portland makes sense there.
Atlanta would be all right. Like Atlanta, that would be a very interesting pick because that would just be like that's a smart, not the biggest swing upside, but you got a good player there. I'm right there with you though. We've said this on a previous episode. He makes a lot of sense in a lot of places.
Anywhere. It's
anywhere. Just take him.
It's the Jaime Jaquez of this year. And he shot way better than Jaquez did.
Yeah. And I heard good intel going back to last year. He makes sense everywhere. Jaime, shout out. That's a good one. What else you got?
Zach Edey, how do you feel about it that high?
Pass.
I'm not sure there's going to be a more interesting storyline on draft night than where he goes. Because we kind of know the general range for the guys at the top. And, obviously the order of 1 through 5 will be fascinating. It'll be really interesting. But where Zach Edey goes, I am so fascinated to see.
Yeah. What's too early for you?
Oh, God. 16 to Philadelphia. And I only say that because New Orleans is at 17. And I could kind of see that as the Valanciunas replacement. But after that, I don't like him in Orlando, don't like him in Toronto, don't like him in Cleveland, and then New Orleans again. And that's also only if New Orleans takes the Lakers pick this year. So maybe 20 or earlier, I would be like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take him in the lottery. Good luck to everyone. I can't take him in the lottery. I'm right there with you. He's the most fascinating player. There's going to be 20 players. I'm really fascinated to see where they go this year, but he's going to be in the top 3. Like, who's it going to be? Who is in? And the growth he's had with his game, the developmental wise from his freshman year to this year is unbelievable.
And I think he's going to have a really solid NBA career.
I do too. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays for a very long time. It's just, I would not. I've said this from the beginning. I like him. I think he would be a fantastic rotation asset. I just would not be drafting that in the lottery. If I got him in the late first, I would be all in on that. If you're like, hey, this is going to work, or we're going to try to make it work. Like if he goes to a playoff team, yes, I get that because you're like, we're going to be good. And if this works, it's going to make us nasty. But I would not be taking that in the lottery. And it's nothing against Edey. It's just, I think that's a gamble if it doesn't work out that early.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Anyone else in this group, or you want to move on?
No, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, let you stopped on him. Let's talk Tyler Smith. Where are you at with him recently?
Cooling. I got him at 22.
Okay.
And it's not a comfortable one because it'd be very easy if I was in a war room to be like, this is what we need. 6'11", can shoot, rim protecting. But I feel like the upside offensively isn't as high as I maybe previously thought it, and maybe there's some more defensive. I feel like he's almost everyone's fit dependent, but I feel like Tyler Smith's like you got to have a team that's really zeroing in on like we really need this. Like we would love to have a floor spacing forward with great size that if he takes developments defensively, maybe we could play him as a small ball 5. You know what I'm trying to say? So like I don't know if I don't like that I'm cooling because when I watched him throughout the year, I was just like, man, this kid could just play. Like he knows his game, he knows his strengths, he plays to him well. But I think this is just there's always a guy in the process that I feel like trickles down my board, but I'm like, why is he trickling down my board? I like him. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Where do you have him?
19.
So like that's a good number. Like I moved him down to 22 and I was like, I don't like this. I've had him kind of right outside the lottery all year.
Yeah, and I like him top 20. I'm not sure I like him lotto though. I get the argument for it. That size, the physical tools, the athleticism, plus the shooting. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the prototype of what you think of with a lottery guy and that upside. I really like him. It's just, is he going to be more than a spot up shooter? And what are we going to get defensively? Everything, the intel with him has been very good, which is really encouraging. But I don't know. Something is leaving me wanting more. But like when you look at teams in like that 15 to 20 range, I really like him with Orlando. I really like him with Cleveland. Those are two spots where I think he would make a ton of sense. So it's not, the highest that he could go, but fit wise, I think that might be those are a couple of the spots where it's like, ooh, that might set him up for, like with the best path to success going forward.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like those teams. I think that's why I'm saying fit dependent. I think if he lands in the right place, he could be a really good asset. But just another one I'm curious about because I do think the defensive flashes as a rim protector were really nice, and then I kind of got back and I was like, I think there's some more defensive questions than I might have thought early on.
There's some good stuff as like a weak side shot blocker, but he's not strong enough to play 5 yet. And then the perimeter stuff is just rough.
Yeah. So I guess that's where I'm at, where I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, is this a perimeter player that can, that isn't, has good size, that doesn't get in there and bruise, or is he going to be a nightmare if he gets switched on at the next level? I don't know. I just have some questions.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, let's move on to 21 through 25 after this quick break. Okay, at 21, we have Kaishan George. At 22, Johnny Furphy. 23, Deron Holmes. 24, Jalen Tyson. 25, Kevin McCullough.
Where do you want to start?
Oh, boy.
I like this range.
These are some fun names, who I wouldn't be surprised if all of them went much higher than this.
Right there with you. Tyson, big jump. 9 spots. Woo, yeah. That's a big number. There is a couple guys later on that humongous jumps, and I was like, my goodness. So I love to see it.
Why don't you wax poetic about Tyson? Because you just wrote about him the other week.
Yeah, I just one of the guys I was cooler on to start the year, and then that's why we watch film throughout the whole year, because I got to catch up on it, and there's just some really impressive stuff at 6'7" and shifty, good feel, good footwork. He has some dribble sequences where I'm like, my goodness, when it comes to just creating separation, and then he has a spin dribble that's just nasty. He can just pick you apart in a couple ways, and then when in doubt, he'll just put you in the post and go to work on you. So I think there's a lot of good stuff he does offensively. I think he was, off the top of my head, I think he was like high 80s or high 90 percentile pick and roll ball handler, which is a very good category to be having success in for the next level. So I get it. I completely understand, especially if you're buying the shot. He shot 36% from downtown, but I think he had a cold stretch to end the year, so that number was even higher. I just get it. I think he's the guy that could make a lot of noise to get going throughout the pre-draft process, and I'm a big fan. I completely see a role for him to be a nice connecting piece at the next level.
Do you think he's going to be more of like a backup point guard type or just connecting wing?
I think a connecting wing
Okay.
that you could maybe run the offense through, and he makes some passes that I was not like. You'd see his numbers, and you're like 3.5 assists. He makes some passes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a read! Like just, I think he had a pass against Arizona State where he threw like a guy open cross court. I think coming off of a high pick and roll going away, he threw like cross court over the top of someone in the corner for like just right in the basket. I was like, my goodness, how'd you see that? And then he had a drive at home. Forget who they were playing, but I thought he was going up for a layup, and all of a sudden he threw like across his body behind his head to someone on the wing, like right on the money for a 3-point shot. I was like, whoo. So I wrote about him and I said, he's a very good reaction player. Like he reacts to what you do and can pick you apart, either scoring, like he understands how to get a defense to bite, and then he can pick you apart with what you present to him. And that's why I think he's such an intriguing talent in this draft.
Yeah. He's got a lot of fans. Very, very interesting player.
Talk to me about Furphy. Why are we cooling? Why should we not be cooling? I'm in the boat cooling. I would want to get off the boat.
Okay.
I want to get back on the right train.
I am not cooling. I have him much higher than this. I
don't have to say it. I know it.
I get the concerns, but there aren't a ton of guys in this class who are his size with his athleticism who shoot it like he does. Yes, I know the 3-point percentage dropped to 35 on the season. That will happen when you rapidly go from not on a scouting report to the number one name on a scouting report. That's a really tough adjustment to make. So I don't think the 48% from three was a representable sample size and who he really is as a shooter, like what we saw from him in January, where he was just electric. But I would be surprised if he's not a high 30% 3-point shooter, like in the 37 to 41 ish range for his career. I think the off ball scoring there is very legit with the shooting, the relocation, the cutting, and then the rebounding on both ends of the floor is absurd, especially for his position. Rebounding translates. And at a minimum, you know you're getting a 6'9", awesome athlete who rebounds the crap out of the ball, is awesome in transition, and is a really good off-ball scorer. So I'd be very happy to take that type of player much earlier than this. I get the concerns. I get the arguments against it. I think the defense is a little better than people are giving them credit for. I'm not saying it's good, but there was enough there with the physical tools, the effort, that I think it will. I would be really surprised if it didn't get better. So,
guy that reclassified needs to add weight to his body. Nasty tools. When he, I think it was I'm going to talk about his teammate who I still absolutely love in a second after Furphy. When Kansas was healthy, Furphy was fantastic because he didn't get all the attention. And then they got banged up and he got everything thrown at him because they were like, let's stop Furphy.
There literally wasn't another player on the team who could make a jumper.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I still am buying that he's a very high upside swing because if the body can fill out, if you could be patient, there's a really smart player there with athleticism that can shoot it, good feel, good off-ball cutter. Like I think there's a lot of tools. It's just he might go later than we think in the draft because of teams being like, he might need a little bit of time, which is fine because these teams are still going to draft guys that they're looking at what type of player is he going to be at his next contract, at his third contract or his second contract after his first. So I think Furphy's still going to be a fascinating name too. That could be going up, could be going down. Big pre-draft process for him. But unless you have any other thoughts, I wanted to move on to his
Yeah,
team.
go for it.
I'm still in pretty easily on Kevin McCullough. Pretty easily.
Define
Top 20. Got him into my top 20. Got him at 17. Had him there pretty much all year. I love him. It's just the medicals. If the medicals get the green light.
I can't put him in my top 30.
I understand. I just need the medicals. It's going to be the first person I try to ask around about, like, hey, McCullough, medicals. Because if he gets the green light, everything I'd want in a wing. Everything I'd want. He could play 3 positions. You can give him the ball. He can run the offense. Everyone says he has questions about a shot. The developments he took this year are insane for that shot. So I know he ended up at 33%. He played banged up, tried to play through it.
I think a lot of that is shot selection too.
Yes.
It's a shot profile that he won't have in the NBA.
They tried to make him Ochai. McCullough was coming back. They're like, okay, we're running everything through you. He was their offense. He was their best shooter. That's besides Furphy, I guess. But that was a legit state. Like, they had to get McCullough to put up numbers. When he was out, they were a different team. And I still think the defense is a legit weapon. That situation, I think if all of a sudden he goes to a team and it's like you're playing alongside, hit the open shot and play good defense, he's going to be a heck of an asset. But everything's going to come down to the medicals. Everything.
And that's really just why I can't get to top 30. I want to. He was there for most of the year, but it's just every year it's some sort of injury, and it sucks. It sucks so much because I think he's one of, if not the best team defenders in this class. His hands on defense are incredible. The rotations, the weak side stuff, it's exactly what you want. It's NBA ready. The passing is NBA ready. The shot creation took a big leap, especially just getting to the rim, drawing fouls, getting easy points. As just like a spot up shooter, as like a corner 3-point shooter, I think he'll be fine. He's not going to be taking pull up, movement stuff like he was at Kansas this last year. He's just a really solid player. It's just, can he stay healthy? And he has yet to prove that. And just giving him that extra year on the guaranteed contract, it scares me off a little bit.
If he got a green light, where would you take him? Where would you feel comfortable taking him?
Like, if doctors were like, these were all fluke things.
Yes.
Don't worry about it. He's fine. 20s.
Yep. And if I loved him, I would not be surprised if someone took him in the
I have
top
him
20.
I have him at 33, so it's not like I'm out by any means. It's just,
and if I got him in that range, even with a little bit of doubt, like, that would be, I'd be dancing in a war room if I got him early second round, and our doctors cleared him. I'm just saying, like, it would be a steal. I think it would be a fantastic, like, we might have gotten a steal in the second round.
And he definitely could be. And I hope he is. Just, God, injuries suck, man.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. 26, we have Nick Clifford. 27, Tyler Kolek. 28, Tijane Saloon. 29, Dylan Jones. 30, Yves Missy.
What a group. Where do you want to start?
Saloon fall kind of just keeps happening.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm really not. And we keep saying this is the guy that has the widest range, I think. It would not shock me if he goes late first. It would not shock me if someone swings on him in the top 20. It would not shock me at all. So
yeah,
I just think there's the areas of his game that are raw are alarming areas. He's 18. I understand that, but they're just important areas, like feel, awareness. Like, it's just, there's a lot of rawness. So I feel like he just needs reps. He needs time. So if a team's willing to be patient, and if you've got multiple first round picks, I understand if you're using your second one on a swing like Saloon, but I do think there's,
honestly, even your first one.
Yes. If you have two, you should go upside and you should go maybe a higher floor. So that's what I've always thought. So it doesn't have to be in that order. It could be swapped, but I understand why he's slipping a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. let's have the Neek Clifford conversation because the chat doesn't seem sold. So,
Ooh, welcome. This
what
is going to be fun.
huge jump for Neek, 35 to 26. What do you like about him?
The question isn't what do I like about him, it's what don't I like about him. It's funny. There's always a couple guys that start to get some buzz late in the year, start to get some attention. Bacomdadier, who we're probably going to talk about soon, starting to get a lot of buzz. I think Neek deserves a lot more buzz. I think Neek is legit. If you watch him, it does not take long to fall in love with him as a prospect. He's listed at 6'6", 191. He looks bigger and stronger than that to me. I feel like he looks like he's 215. Bouncy, nasty. He has some defensive games where he ruins people's lives. Like he go watch him against Creighton. He had my guy Trey Alexander in hell. And very smart playmaker. The shot took strides this year. He just understands his strengths, and he's a connecting piece. He is the Swiss Army knife you would be drooling for if you're a team. Like playoff teams are going to love him because they're going to say, hey, low maintenance, can make an impact without being high usage, understands where to be. I just love the way he plays the game.
Yeah, it's not a hard eval, I don't think. If you're wanting some on-ball creator, you're going to be disappointed, but you're also not kind of understanding who the player is. One of the best defenders in this class, block rate over 3, steal rate over 2.5, defensive rebounding rate at 25, just under 60% from 2, 37.5% from 3, with a usage rate over 20. Like, he's just solid. He's an awesome defender, and on offense, you know what you're going to get from him, which is reliable spot-up shooting. He'll keep the ball moving. He proved all year that he's capable of attacking closeouts and just kind of doing the simple stuff. And a lot of the time, that's more than enough. He feels like one of these wings that's going to be in a playoff rotation. Like when we look at guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker or Lou Dort, or the list goes on. I'm not saying he's those guys specifically, but that kind of type of role.
We had a comment from one of the OGs, Dirty Dancer, who he said Neek reminds him of Colby Jones, doesn't set his hair on fire. I will say, as one of the founding members of the Colby Jones fan club, I think Neek's levels ahead. Like Neek's defense is some of my favorite film I've watched. And also the playmaking. Dude can just play. Like he's just one of those guys that you put on a court with anyone, he will make an impact. He will be a dog. Like I would just will not surprise me wherever he goes. I think teams are going to be big fans, and we've heard teams like love him. So it's just going to be really interesting to see kind of where he ends up. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, because the film's fantastic. It's some of my favorite. Where do you have him, Metcalf?
24.
Okay.
Where do you?
24.
Classic.
Really classic.
God,
any other thoughts?
I don't think so. I mean, Tyler Kolek just kind of keeps floating in this range all year. Kind of similar to Dylan Jones. We talked about Yves Missy the other week.
Yeah. I mean, cool. Missy falling a little bit surprised me, but I also think that's another guy could go back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on. We'll go 10 at a time here.
Yeah.
At 31, Khalil Ware. 32, Justin Edwards. 33, Pacome Dadier. 34, PJ Hall. 35, Alex Caravan. 36, KJ Simpson. 37, Hunter Salas. 38, AJ Johnson. 39, Trey Alexander. And 40, Carlton Carrington.
Hell of a group. Lot of names made humongous jumps. Anytime you're getting to double-digit jumps, you are really cooking at this time of the year. Carrington up 10 spots. Hunter Salas up 11 spots. KJ Simpson up 10 spots. And Pacome and Justin Edwards just keep creeping on up. What do you think?
I think there are a lot of first-rounders in this group.
I do too. I think there's a lot of them. I could see.
Man, I cannot wait for this graphic on AJ Johnson to be updated with his new measurements, and I'm gonna be so upset
If it's false, I'm
if
gonna
it's.
fight someone.
we're
Like,
gonna have,
come on,
we're
man.
gonna have words.
No, I could see almost everyone here going in the first, and wouldn't shock me. Keyword almost.
Ignacio gets it.
Ignacio always gets it.
it.
That's why we love him. Flashes are really fun. With AJ, it's just, are they flashes or not? Seen some comments about that, so that's been fun. A lot of these guys, I think Pacombe's going to end up in the first. I think he's going to keep going on up. He's been playing good lately. Caravan, I think, is the wild card. I think teams are going to fall in love with him because he could just do a lot of stuff. A lot of these guys
wouldn't surprise me if he returns.
Right there with you. KJ, I think, is going to make a little noise. A lot of guys, I think, that could start to get up into the first round conversation. I'm right there with you. A lot of guys could go first in this group.
Yeah, and I think Carlton Carrington is a guy where I have him at like 25. I think he's going to go first round, and I think him being this low currently, and you can see it in his previous ranking of 50th, is still people just. I think we were really under the impression that he was going back next year.
Yes,
and people just kind of reacclimating to him being back in the draft conversation. So
I'm right there with you. Yes,
it'd almost be surprising if he doesn't stay in at this point. So I would imagine that come the next version of this, I would expect him to make yet another really significant jump.
The bigger thing is that people will be like, why is he at 40? And I'm like, no, don't. I wouldn't focus on that. I would focus on the fact he went up 10 spots, because that usually right now means what Metcalf just said. Like, okay, we're all thinking he's in, and now everyone's going back to watch the film, and you start seeing stuff, and you're like, okay, like, yeah, like, I think he's going to go up again. I have him at 28. Huge jump for me from where I had him before. But before, I thought he was potentially going to test and leave.
Yeah.
And now that looks like he might be all in, there's a time in which I would be swinging. Like we talked about it in the last episode, I was like, I'd be swinging. There's stuff there. He's not far from being a real monster. So it'll be interesting. I think he's going to keep going up on our boards.
And I think he's still really skilled. His body has to develop a lot. I think he's still very skinny. That 190 feels generous. But I buy the shot long term. Obviously the rim pressures and the at rim finishing stuff needs work. I love the playmaking. I really like the decision making, and I really like the defense and how it improved throughout the year. I know he's gotten dinged basically all year for the defense. I thought it was solid, especially as the year progressed. I thought his on-ball stuff got so much better than what it looked like back in November.
I'm right there with you. I just think that's the upside swing I'd be wanting. If you could be patient, let him. I don't say this in a bad way. Let him get some G League reps. Just let him get reps and time and patience, and let his body fill out, and then just unleash him, because there's a lot of really good stuff developing. It just needs time to simmer.
Anyone else in this range?
No. No.
Okay. Moving on to 41, we have Bobby Klimpman, 42, AJ Mitchell, 43, Juan Nunez, 44, Dembona, 45, Jameer Watkins, 46, Mark Sears, 47, Jamal Shed, 48, Harrison Ingram, 49, Jonathan Mobo, and 50, Izan Almanza.
Jamal Shed and Mark Sears making a move is very, very exciting. Really fascinated to see what happens with Jameer Watkins and Bona in the pre-draft process. What do you got?
Yeah, I think Bona is going to be a guy who just outperforms his ranking. He was put in such a brutal spot with UCLA this year. He never should have had the offensive usage that he did, and he was asked to cover so much ground on defense. He was basically set up to fail this year. So I don't think he's this, franchise changing center, but as an energy big man off the bench, like a lot worse than, or you could do way worse than him. I think there's a real route for him to being 15 to 20 minute a night energy, ver- versatile defender, high level rebounder, rim runner, good screener, all that kind of stuff. So I don't feel good about him that late, but I can kind of understand it based on the season that he and UCLA had.
I'd take him earlier. If he was on the board in the early second, I'd jump all over that because I do think this could be a situation, darling, in which this was just a bad situation this year, and what you need him for. If I got that in the second round, it could be a steal and just fantastic value. One of those guys, I think, once talent is around him, he's going to be much more valuable just because they're going to be like rebound and play defense. He's like fantastic. I'd love to. So, yeah, I don't think a team's going to be feeding Bona touches in the post.
No.
And Watkins, I think, is the sleeper. I just think combine guy, scrimmages guy.
Yeah,
I think that could be the scrimmage guy.
I'm not sold on him. I get the
I
intrigue.
think he could play and just kind of be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, and people are like, maybe we're interested. His numbers were unreal.
Yeah,
second half.
He had an awesome year. I'm skeptical on how it translates.
I get where he is. I get if someone's in love with him. I get all the worlds. It's just this is where we're getting into territory of like you should probably play because you might be able to do some damage.
Yeah.
Anything, Mark Sears? We don't need to have that hour,
but we could.
We could.
Jamal Shed.
We could have that hour.
Jamal Shed will be higher on the next one. I screwed up on my board and had forgotten to move him. So
classic.
That's my bad.
You know
what
still
went up 6 spots.
You know what this is? This is a range of dogs.
Yeah.
There's just some dudes in this range that it's just like, just get your hands on one of them in the second round, potentially. And you might have an absolute veteran that's going to play at a high level. I still like Harrison Ingram. I thought his strides have been fantastic. And Mobo, I feel like, could go much earlier. I think some team's going to be drooling.
He will be very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's finish this off with Jalen Bridges at 51, Oso Ighodaro at 52, Baylor Shireman at 53, Peyton Sanford at 54, Trenton Flowers at 55, Xavier Lee at 56, Cam Christie, please go back to Minnesota, at 57, Antonio Reeves at 58, Reese Beekman at 59, and Nikola Jurisic at 60. Where do you want to go? Oh, you froze. Okay. Let's see here.
Oh, I'm back. Come on.
Okay.
I'm back. I'm back.
You froze. You froze while you were smiling like the Joker, and it was a little
that was
unsettling.
Perfect. Interesting names. I think Sanford's going to be the one that could get going up. I think Trenton Flowers is the name I'd watch out for if you guys are listening.
I think
Cam Christie.
I'd be surprised if Flowers isn't a top 35, 40 minimum guy on draft night.
Right now, yes, I agree. It's too much smoke. That there's some fire sparks coming up. That's the name I'd be watching.
Yeah.
Cam Christie, I will say, just like Metcalf, just go back. Just one more year. Go back.
God, they're going to be so bad if he doesn't go back.
He's going to go shoot the crap out of it and work out. And we're going to be so like, oh, gosh, he's going.
He's going to get a top 35 promise.
Yes, he is. It's going to be brutal.
Gosh, they're going to be so bad next year.
Sanford, I think, could go much earlier than this. So it's a really interesting range. My boy Jurisic making it back. He's looked great. I think he's going to go. Making it back now to even, I know everyone's going to look at him and be like, oh, 60th. Making it now, like this is where you start cooking because people are starting to catch up on stuff. And shout out KOC, he had him very early today, and I was like, my goodness, I love it. And Raphael had him top 32. Like shout out Raphael. So it's been cool to see Jurisic. He looks fantastic. I told you, I texted you the other day. I said you need to watch Jurisic. Like the
I have been.
mindset has flipped. Did you watch him?
Yeah, I have been.
Oh, what did you like it or no?
I mean, I always like it when guys make shots.
Stop it! He's attacking. I think there's some more stuff that like I did a
I
film
need
dive on him last
the
year. I did a film breakdown on him.
the rim pressure has been really good. The
Yeah.
playmaking has been really good. The playmaking has always been really good. The shot making has been really encouraging, and that's a really important step. Uh, the other side of the ball is an utter disaster, but who cares about that?
No, but I think the rim pressure stuff wasn't as aggressive last year.
He's been getting into the line a lot recently.
That's where I think the strides, because like I did
He
on our
doesn't have
YouTube.
a ton of craft. He doesn't have
No.
he doesn't really know what to do unless he's dunking it.
That's fine. He's 6'8",
but
like and with almost 220. Like
Mhm.
if the shot came around, that was the only thing we were all worried about. And the shot is he's at 32% right now. That's a big jump because I think last year he was like 13% at one point. I was like, can you just make a shot? It looks good. Like it looks good. It's like me shooting in a gym. I'm like, it looks fine, but I never goes in. So it's just, I think that's the wild card. Like if this has been a very interesting page turner at the end of the year, because this is where I'm like, okay, I know you've got the game. If things are starting to come together right now, like I would absolutely jump all over that, because he's a much better playmaker than his numbers
Mhm.
show. He's
He
a
has some
wizard with the ball too.
nasty stuff.
Nasty stuff.
Where are you at with what his role will be? Because I like him best on ball, but I don't think he's breaking that threshold in the NBA. That's really freaking hard to do. And all of his off ball stuff feels very reactionary. It feels late. It doesn't he doesn't have that natural flow with relocating or cutting off of teammates post ups or drives and stuff like that. And just so much of his off ball stuff, if he doesn't have a specific play kind of set for him, it feels like he's late.
I get it. I just think that's the connecting piece I'd really, really like to have with his size. Even going back to his, when he was really struggling shooting the outside shot, I would ask around, and there was a lot of people are like, I really like him. I like his game. So I think teams are like, hey, we can unlock a shot. And now that it's projecting that way, you might just get a dang high feel offensive weapon at 6'8" that can run a pick and roll, make the right reads. It's just like how we say with everyone, it comes down to the shot. But it's just the shift in mentality. Like he was even playing with Topic this year, and I
Mhm.
watched some games and I was like, man, Jurisic looks good. Like I still was kind of like very intrigued, very excited, and he was playing more off the ball. And I think Topic left, and they just kept feeding him off the
Yeah.
ball. So that's the development I'm getting more excited about, because I know what he can do with the ball in his hands. But if now all of a sudden he's becoming an aggressive threat off the ball, ingredients are coming together. Maybe there is something. So I in this draft, I
Yeah.
would, if I'm still in on him, I would not be surprised if a team was jumping all over that. Just depends on where.
Especially in the second two, you can probably stash him for another year. Maybe just see like, hey, how real is this late season shooting development?
Yeah.
And if it's not, it's like, okay, well then we're probably never going to see you. But
But if it's real
if it's real,
and you get 6'8" with feel, that's a nice addition.
yeah. So, okay. Anything else? Any names that you were surprised didn't make it?
What about you? Did you have any names?
Oh boy.
Cam Spencer?
I like him. I'm not sure draft capital like him, but he feels
Keyshawn
like he's going to be a
Johnson's
college coach for 40 years.
I think teams are gonna like him more than we think. I think
I
Keyshawn
I
Johnson is
like
the
him,
big name
but
for me. Keyshawn Johnson. Um,
uh,
I need to know what's going on with JT Toppin. That's what I need to know.
mm,
That's what I need to
he
know.
needs to go back.
I don't know if I believe in that.
I think he needs to. I'm not sure he will. I need literally anyone to appreciate Ariel Hukporti and the season that he had in the NBL this year. He was so good and so much better and consistent and reliable than so many centers that keep making this board. But
it drives me crazy. I'll give everyone a little heads up. This is how the graphic design process goes down. Metcalf gives me the list. I have templates made. I have to go in and basically do. It's pretty easy once we've done like 4 of them, because I get to just go and change the numbers for pretty much the first half, unless I do what I always do and want to make a completely new template, and then it adds about 2 hours. And every time Ariel Hukporti sneaks his way back into the top 60, I have to make a new one all over again. It drives me nuts because you guys give me like 10 new players in the top 60. So I'm already preparing that Metcalf's little rant. I'm going to have to make Ariel Hukporti again for the next one. I get it. I understand.
Because I've been trying to get literally anyone to appreciate him all season, and I'm just
Where do you
an
have
island shouting into the void. 42.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Go watch his defense.
I will. Because you pissed me
so
off with
good.
this. 42.
Yeah. Is a backup center who can rim run, rebound, and play awesome defense.
We've been talking about him as a draft prospect ever since No Ceilings.
And began. I hated him.
This is year 3.
Before this year, I was like, nope, pass, trash. He was so good this year.
Give me a pro comp.
I don't know.
Come on, you can't do it to me, and then I can throw it back to you. So you're thinking he's your backup big. You're just playing good defense.
Yes.
Okay. I get that. I don't like pretty much my 55 to 60. So if I love him, I'd love to put him in that range.
He's just solid. He's a really good athlete, but I just keep yelling into the void. Comments mentioned Melvin Ajinka. He's just outside my top 60. I need him to do literally anything other than stand in the corner and shoot.
Yeah, if you want him to be Michael Redd, he can do it.
Can he? And how dare you insult Bucks legend Michael Redd like that?
I love Michael Redd. Shout out Michael Redd. Michael Redd was always one of the guys that rooting from the Celtics growing up. I was always like, can we find a way to get Michael Redd? He'd be perfect. Every team I feel like was doing that. No, I like Ajinka. I just feel like I'm right there with Metcalf. If he could just show me one more area of his game that has some stuff to develop, I'd be in. And no, I don't have Ulrich Chomsky in my top 60. So I'll answer that for everyone before they ask.
Same, just outside.
Needs time, but I would be surprised if he gets drafted there. Other names. Jalen Wells is testing.
Yes, and
he'll
be
Is he a no contact?
I think so.
Portal guy. Yeah.
He's on that would be disturb mode.
Yeah,
because I think he's got elite camp, or was he one of the last full? God, they all blend together.
I think he got elite camp
invite.
I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I'm pretty sure he got one of those because he was one of the last. Okay.
Regardless, there will be eyes on him and someone to.
Elite camp's really big.
Who could quickly rise.
It's for everyone listening. It's this weekend. It's really big. There's a good record of guys that show out in that, get invited to the combine, and then can make some noise. So it's not an afterthought. And I think this year's crop of talent, I was like, well, there's some names. So it's going to be really interesting to see who kind of shows out.
Absolutely. Rucker, this was a blast. As always, thank you to everyone in the chat. You guys rock. These are always one of the highlights of our week. So appreciate all of you and listeners as well. You can find all of our written stuff over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Follow us across socials at NoCeilingsNBA, on YouTube at NoCeilingsNBA. Pretty consistent branding there. But he is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I am Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at T Metcalf. We will have a live stream going for the lottery this Sunday, followed up by a mock draft. So make sure to come hang out. It'll be up on YouTube. But if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and a 5-star rating. Till next time, see ya.